the webinar today is that we'll cover some few key highlights that we want to talk about, and obviously Fadi, introducing Fadi, that he will be leading those reviews and demonstration and across some of those features here that we've outlined. But in short, there are a few areas that we want to share with everybody in this webinar, and so we're looking forward to that. And I think it's going to be kind of a detailed, casual conversations, and I'll pass it on to Fadi to start that conversation, and looking forward to hearing a bit more about that. And as I said, some of these key in here has been released into production and available for customers to start using. I'll pass it on to Fadi to start and to share some of those exciting features and use cases that we have prepared for our webinar of the latest and greatest for Vansah. To wrap up our webinar this afternoon, we will also talk about some of the exciting upcoming releases and capabilities that is on the roadmap, touching some of the key roadmap features that we're releasing as well in 2024. So I'll pass it on to yourself, Fadi, to start walking through some of these key highlights that we have prepared for our webinar this afternoon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Hala. Well, thank you here, everybody. We can see the Vansah dashboard, which is the first thing that we will be talking about. Recently just introduced to Vansah. I know a lot of people have been waiting for something about a dashboard to appear when you sort of open up Vansah from the left-hand side in your Jira workspace. Obviously, in the past, most of the graphs and charts would be managed by your Jira dashboards, which still exists and is recommended for some more detailed reporting. But this is actually a new, quick way to get an overview snapshot of what's going on in your Jira project. So thanks, Hala, for just showing that a little bit clearer now. The very first thing we want to share is obviously at the very top, there's the first widget, which is the project status. And that obviously talks about the number of test cases that you have been, in this current case, it's what cases have been created. So the first, we have a filter there that you can select and actually just report on test cases created as of today or the last 7 days or whatever you decide. For the first release of the dashboard, it only is allowing you to filter based on test cases you've created. However, very soon we'll be providing you with all the filters that you have been familiar with, that you can create save filters and sort of report on, a particular test folder or an issue or a sprint, whatever you decide that you need to. You can actually customize and run the dashboard to display that information. So if we just close that off there, Hala, so I can just go through a little bit of the details there. So as I was saying, the first widget, the project status widget, you can see that it's talking about how many test cases that are untested, past, in progress, and so forth. All of these details can be clicked on, so you can drill in to get that information. So if we, let's say, wanted to know what is currently untested, you can see that information that you have. This screen is something that you're already familiar with, and you can obviously action the same sort of menus that you're familiar with as well. So if we click on, if you need to execute that or clone the test, as Hala's showing here, you can, all those menu features appear for you. So even if you needed to export, you'd select that test case and export it. So the usability and the experience has been some of the feedback that most of our community has asked for, to continue to allow that ability to drill in on the fly to a gadget, as you did for the Vansah dashboard. So the gadgets from the Jira dashboard, we've continued that experience in this screen. So if we close that screen, Hala, just because I wanted just to talk a little bit more about what else you see here. So if you just scroll down a little bit there, the widget on the left is the test case widgets. So they're the test cases that have been created. We've not only allowed you to view the test cases, but you can actually perform a quick create. So you can click on the plus, and that allows you to create a test case in the current project, the type of test case, whatever it is. So Hala's just given an example here. Click on enter for that, and that test case will appear for you as you're familiar with. So it's just, there it is, test case 1, 2, 3 has been created. The numbers, as you can see, they've been updated. So now we have 7 test cases created as of today, The number of untested cases, as you can see, has increased to 2, and so forth. So all this information is now available as part of your Vansah dashboard. In the middle, the widget is our test runs widget. So we've obviously given you a quick way to sort of find what tests have been executed across your project. Hovering over the status there, what you're very familiar with, that it appears from an issue screen or from test case tab or whatever it may be, you can see the details. So Hala's just passed a test, tested against an issue, and so forth. You can also access the test case by clicking on the test case link, and all the information will appear as you're familiar with as well. So going back to the dashboard again, Hala, and I just want to sort of give a bit more details. We can also rerun that test run again. So if you needed to update it to a past or set it as a quick test, those options appear, and it will create a new run. If Hala did that, see now we've got 10 runs, that the project status has been updated on the top. That experience appears for you there that you're familiar with as well. The thing I want to mention is you can also perform a proper test run as well. So the new test run or edit a test run, again, all these features that you've seen from the Vansah test case tab or from an issue screen can be managed from the dashboard here as well for you. So it's all about being agile and improving your user experience. We've obviously taken all that feedback and ensured that when we introduce the dashboard for Vansah, all that experience and expectations is maintained and not lost as a result. So to the very far right, it's a very quick way to quickly identify any defects or issues that have been created as a result of your test runs. So as you're aware that when you're executing a test, you will see that you have the ability to link. If you're not aware, if you open up any test log and you want to add an issue, Hala's creating a new issue for us here. Is this an example? If you're not aware of how you can do that now, you get an opportunity to see how you can create a defect against a step within your test case. All that information now appears, and it would appear in the test run as a linked issue, but it'll also appear for you. If you refresh here, there'll be 3 test runs. There we go. So test run issues, I should say. So all of this quick and easy access to very important information that sometimes you have to look through and identify things via different gadgets or, opening up test cases, opening up the issue. It still exists, but this is just a quick way to identify what you need to look at. And again, if you clicked on that, Hala just clicked on that quickly there, but that's obviously what he did was the ability to drill into the issues within the. So right now, Hala, just demonstrate that. Just stay there for a second. If you see where it says number 3 at the top there in that test run widgets, instead of opening up in the Vansah dialog, it actually opens it up inside Jira search issues, as you probably experienced in other areas of Vansah. So if we click on that now, that opens up those 3 issues for you in the Jira search screen. So anything you can do inside Jira with searching for issues, like maybe even sharing those issues to somebody, saving it as a filter, you can continue to do that. But it's obviously a quick way to manage the issues that have been created as a result of the test run. So going back to the dashboard for us, Hala, please. The last widget for us that I want to demonstrate is something I really enjoy using, and it has helped me a lot with keeping track of what's going on, is the activity. So there's an activity widget that will update for you based on what's happening in your project. So Hala, as you can see, if you want to look at Hala's has updated a test run, we can drill into that test run, or we can continue. You can see Hala created test run number 388. So he obviously created it, then he updated it. As we've seen, he created a test case 1, 2, 3. All of that activity that occurs in your project is available to you from the dashboard. That's really, as of this current release, is what we've done, and we've agreed to sort of push out, because we wanted to get the dashboard out there that you've been very patiently waiting for, as we've sort of seen from the community. But this is as of November. Recently, you probably seen that as already. Most of you have sort of commented. But what's coming soon within the next week or so, probably not next week, I'll show you next month or so, is further changes to the dashboard around the top widget there. So project status information. So being able to filter, change your filters, and enable you to sort of save the dashboard to load the information you're interested in yourself. So not something that you're forcing the entire team to have to view. So it could be personalized for you. Nothing's changed from the test case tabs for you. So if you needed to continue to view your test cases in the test runs against your test folders, all that appears for you. We've obviously ensured that any links to a test case that would normally open up this tab will still continue to open the tab. So you're not having to click through the tab to just open something that may have appeared, such as like a test case that was commented on in a Jira issue, will open up in this particular folder for you. I think that is all we wanted to share from the dashboard, but I'm excited to sort of say that it's the beginning for us around what we're going to be doing on the dashboard and improving things for everyone.
Absolutely, Freddie. Thank you for that. I think that's the next leg of revisions from the team. It's going to be exciting, but this is tremendously helping our users to, as a central place, really, an easy way to start their day, start their workflow. And this is the whole idea around the dashboard is to simplify your starting point and just using those filters. And as you've alluded to, Vedi, with the next few batches of enhancements, it will introduce the current filtering capabilities that we have. But it's all about simplifying workflows for testers.
The key thing is in the middle there of the test runs. What will come, I should say, first off from our development backlog is the ability to drill into the test runs. So as of now, there isn't a way that you can search for test runs and manage test runs in Vansah very quickly, apart from going into a test folder and seeing the test runs against that particular test folder cycle, or going into an issue and seeing the test runs there. Again, you have to know where to go to find the test runs. However, what will happen for the Vansah dashboard soon is you'll have a tab, as you see the test case tab. You'll also have a test run tab, and those test runs can be something that you can find a lot easier by searching "give me tests," for instance, that have been executed for these particular cycles across these issues, and you can sort of view those test runs specifically on their own. And from this dashboard, you can click on the 10 as an example, which you can't do at the moment because that's something that's not working. We haven't finished that part, but you'll be able to open up in a dialog screen is obviously the particular test runs and seeing more information about it. Like, okay, was it tested against an issue? Was it tested against a folder? All the information that you want to maybe quickly identify and action, you'll see it there. But if you wanted to then drill in further, you'll go to the test run tab. So that's coming probably early January at the latest. So that's probably a good update, I guess, hopefully around what we've done on the Vansah dashboard. Yeah, and the widgets there. Thanks, Hala.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Vedi. We'll move on to the next area, which is around some key improvements on test scripts. So, Vedi, I'll pass it on to you to talk about some of the introductions of specific features with that.
Yes, thanks for that. So other than the dashboard that we've just covered off, we'll continue to the changes that we've done around a test case. So a test case, until just recently, was a test with information such as the description, prerequisites, the headline, and all the properties that if we had a test case open, we could actually stay on that screen. I probably want to just cover off what you have been previously familiar with is a test case that was a test script that had a test script with steps and expected results. The traditional way of managing tests, you would see that by seeing the script icon appear that would demonstrate. If you just hover over one of those test case 116, you're probably familiar with that. It would then show you quickly that this test case has 5 steps associated to it in the test script tab. And that is something that most teams use quite often. But at the moment, what we've done is allowed you to configure your tests based on just a plain test description without being any steps or a being BDDs, which is the quite common behavioral driven development type test teams. Those that are familiar with BDD will cover that quite quickly. So right now we have 3 types of test scripts that you can manage for a test case. Number one, if we open up that test case, hello, just so I can walk through that. And the test case that Hala is about to display here, 118, you can see at the right, very far right, you'll see a drop down. It's currently configured to be a BDD type test case. So very feature based, where you have the 3 or 4 so commands that are mostly used, given, when, and then commands. The editor that you see here is very much an editor that validates the script as well. So it's not like you can just type something in there and it just accepts it. So if you type something that's incorrect, it will verify that. But if we look at that, what it should be doing is obviously first and foremost, it should be color coding the key commands for you in blue. And it most surely definitely should verify that if the BDD syntax is correct. So there we go, we have an invalid syntax. The syntax validation and ensure that what you're entering into the BDD test script here will flow on to be successful within your framework, which most people are familiar with. Cucumber as an automation framework. So with Vansah now, if you're using BDD, you can create and educate your team to define test scripts based on the BDD Gherkin syntax. Obviously looking at this as an example, given I'm a user, not sure what you're writing there, Hala there, but I think site language is probably, I think you've created something that doesn't make any sense at all. But if this syntax had made sense, which I'm sure it did, but Hala has been excited to change things around there, it would flow on to a framework that you integrate with to provide the feature file that can map each line of the BDD syntax there and ensure that it automates those tests for you. So you run that. So we won't cover that off here, but it's just more those who are in the BDD world could you actually now start using test cases, creating them in the BDD format, and exporting them to your framework to be passed on for automated testing. The next option that you see going from bottom up is plain text. So if you selected plain text now, it will change the format for you. Ignore that there, Hala. That's just an error around your syntax. I think it validated it then. But now it's changed it to just pure plain text. So some teams are not really interested in the step-by-step and expected results. They just really want to define a test case with some information that you want them to verify. And if you write your test in this particular format, you now have the option for that. So when you run that test, you will see this information for you to verify in your testing. And all you need to do is obviously provide an actual result, still the same thing, providing actual results, and a result against what's happened. So now that's the option. It's called plain text. And the one that you have all been familiar with up until recently is the first option there, which is the multi-steps. So we refer to it as multi-steps because you can change your test case syntax to multi-steps. Can you select on that, Hala, please? Yep. So it's going to warn you if you'd like to change that. And here we go. We have the ability to go back to the original format, providing steps, test data, expected results, and creating your test script inside your Jira workspace for that test case. Good thing about this as well is that if you had written a test script and then decided to change back to a BDD, for example, your format or your test script will not be lost. So as you saw, how I did change from BDD to multi-test. So let's go back to BDD. It would retain that, bring that back as at the last point in time, as you can see. So we're not only just allowing you to create a test case using different formats, but we maintain the test script and the information for you, and the last active setting that you have will be used in your test when you execute it. So this is the real main reason for us to this is the main change we did in the test script. So we have the tab that is familiar to everyone, which is the test script tab, but now we have the type of test script, and these are three changes we've done. And there is other reasons as to why we've done that, is to ensure that customers that are migrating from other testing tools that you're most familiar with, that do support those different types, can now do that. So when you use the new importer facility for Vansah, you'll be able to select the tool that you're importing from, and just literally we would obviously have already adopted to these new different types of test scripts that most teams are using, and allowing you to continue that way, which has always been something we've always wanted to build in Vansah, to allow you to have plain text, multi-steps, or BDD. But now, as a result of that, we can now move to allowing you for importing test cases from a previous tool you may be using, or other types of sources, and we should be able to support the type of test case that you're importing a lot easier now. All right, so we'll move on to the next main release feature there. Unless, Hala, you had anything you want to comment on that?
No, I think that was very clear around the plain and multi-step and BDD. So we'll move on to the next feature there,
yes,
Ferdy.
Perfect.
It's exciting, multi-language, and then I'll switch over. Yeah.
This has been quite a big piece of work that we've invested in, and we wanted to be the first testing tool app for Jira that supports not just one particular language, but every single language that you may have that Jira supports. So the way it works is currently that Jira has customers, as you all know, spread across the world, and the language that customer uses for their Jira instance is something that is defaulted by their Jira admin, or something they've updated for their personal profile. Regardless, in the past, if you were a user using a language that's specific, like Italian or just Dutch, whatever language you may be using, French, yeah, German, whatever it may be, you would have seen Vansah to continue to be in the standard English text. So customers have asked us, look, can you support our language being French? And we were unfortunately not able to support that. And so as of now, we don't only support just one or two languages, but we've now put in the effort to ensure we support all Jira languages. So a quick demo for that, if you want to know how to change your language, if most of you are currently using English, you go to your account preferences in Jira and select your language, which would be defaulted to what you're currently using. But if we change the language, in this case,
Spanish.
Yeah, so selecting Spanish, you can see that now your Jira workspace has been updated. All the menus there are in Spanish. I wish I could read that, but I'm sure you can see that it's a different language. And if you now go to Vansah inside your Jira workspace and refresh your screen, Hala, just so then Jira can load in that Spanish language that you've selected, you can see all the menus now changed, and now you can see all of Vansah has been updated. So not only just updating some tab information, but all information, even the activity on the right-hand side, the test case, the pass and fail to be in that language, and everything in Vansah as much as possible, really. Well, I think it's nearly close to 95% of Vansah would be updated to that language you selected. So this has been a big change for us, because where Vansah is obviously heading is not one particular country, as in servicing Australia or the US or UK, which are English native speaking languages, but we're targeting countries all around the world, and we currently have customers in some of those languages that Hala has demonstrated previously that you can change to. So this has been a big achievement for us, and we're quite pleased that it's now available in Vansah, that you would automatically see your language that you've selected. So So thank you to the team that have worked tremendously hard on that, and testing it as well has been a challenge, because we needed to be certain that what we are presenting is not something, by the way, we're not just dynamically generating the language on the fly using some translator. This is actually a carefully mapped words specifically for that language in our database to ensure the right text. So we do welcome any feedback. I do recall once someone from China had said that what you're saying is very, very funny, because of, I won't go about it, because of the way that what we translated from English to that language meant something totally different. So we obviously are continuously improving what our translation is. So, okay, but that's the main change that you've ever seen.
I think it's truly exciting. I know that we do have some Spanish-speaking people on the call, and it's great because it just brings that whole international community. So I thought I was going to show off my Spanish, but I won't do that. But it's definitely, bringing everybody together with that barrier. So
yeah, maybe it encourages our current customers to learn different languages now, right? They are familiar with the very thing is untested. So I could say no probado. Is that how I say it?
No probado.
Probado, right? So now I know that.
There you go. You've given me
Vansah has become a free English course, free language course for you, I should say.
You've given me a chance to show off my Spanish there. So no probado, descripción. Yeah. But yes, well done to the team there.
Oh, look, that's really good. So definitely become an international product now. So we're proud to see that. So Hala will change back to English so we can continue our demonstration. And refresh your screen, and we can get back to the slides. What we're showcasing, please.
Perfect. So we'll go from multi-language. What's next on the list is the custom fields. Yeah.
Thank you, Hala. So custom fields here, if you could just zoom in a little bit, Hala, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just so we can see a bit more content. So now Vansah supports Jira Custom Field Mapping. So not only mapping to just your test case, obviously we're talking about test cases, but even reporting in your gadgets. And some of our customers have shared some exciting things already, what they've been able to do. But if you map if you look at your test cases now, we're familiar with in the miscellaneous tab that we'll show you that soon. You were previously able to enable seeing a Jira label for your test case, components, and priority, for instance. So we always use Jira's fields, the system fields, against test cases. We don't create our own priorities or components or labels. I think that's it's doubling up on work, and it's sort of not allowing you to report on the same content that exists for a Jira issue inside your project. So Vansah is about configuring fields to be available in your test case according to what's in your Jira workspace. And you're not creating anything, as I said, you're reusing any values that are part of your existing workspace. The difference is what we've worked on now is introduced your Jira custom fields to be visible for you to select and add them to your test case. Not only adding them, but actually specifying if it's mandatory or optional. So we've introduced that as of recently. So maybe, Hala, if you can just quickly showcase that by opening up Vansah into one of your projects. So if you head to your Vansah project settings and you go to Jira Custom Fields, you'll see instantly now Vansah has identified custom fields that you have within your workspace. Anything that is not supported would be inactive there, as you can see if hovering over some of an epic color like development. Anything that's not something that we can support, we've inactivated it for you. But if you see epic status or flagged or anything that is available, if Hala had in this workspace had created a custom field for Jira, because these, I think what we're seeing here are mainly Jira known system fields that weren't created. But if any custom fields that were created can also be added. So you add your custom field to Jira and set the values for them. You would come to this screen and select it, and now it will appear inside your test case. And again, it not only appears, I think you see something you haven't configured yet, Hala, right? I don't think you have something that we can showcase. Is that right?
Definitely.
Okay, so great. So if we had all right, so where you find these custom fields, if you see other fields at the bottom there, these are all your custom fields or Jira fields that you've selected to appear against a test case. And now all the values that are part of those fields in Jira will be available to you. So that's a big change that a lot of customers have asked for. They weren't specific about saying, can we reuse, some were about specifically reusing Jira system fields. Some have said we could just want something, ability to create new fields. And what we've said is, look, create the field in Jira and it will appear for you to map it to your Vansah board. And that's what has happened here. Yeah. The other benefit of that, sorry, you're going to say something, Hala?
I was going to say, I mean, this is such a game changer in terms of how test engineers and developers and project managers will interact with their Vansah and their Jira reporting, because essentially what's happening here is that Vansah now has the ability to have those custom fields defined regardless by teams, and eventually having the ability to report testing from different parameters and different reporting requirements based on those custom fields. So that's where the power is. And again, bringing that all together to centralize and have a unified approach. So often I hear customers talk about uniting the process or bringing that together, and the custom fields is certainly an important part of bringing together testing into that whole cadence.
Well, I always talk about a practice, that is configured from the start, that you invest in what type of fields you would use in your project in Jira and the values. And now when you sort of apply that to a test case in Vansah for your Jira workspace, it's nothing new that you need to go through that process. It's already available. And now you're just mapping and managing test cases according to those defined fields and values associated with your workspace. It gives you a lot more productivity as a result of that. So that's what's happened now. But more importantly, it's the whole Vansah search. If you went to your Vansah tab, Hala, if you have one of your tabs open, just to show in your Vansah board, or we call it, used to call it the Vansah board, but it's now the Vansah dashboard, the test case tab. And you could sort of look at the more fields. No, the more fields there for me, Hala. Just searching. I just want to demonstrate seeing the custom fields, so other fields again. And now you see those fields, right, that you've mapped, and you can select them, and the values that you've that appear would be available to you. So simple, as you can see, any test cases that are mapped to that custom field now are available to you to manage and do what you need to do, right? If we can continue for forever to talk about this, but for now, it's just a quick example of creating custom fields, setting them as optional or mandatory, mapping them to the test case, and now managing your tests according to those searches that you can do to perform the function that you need to do, right? And all this is filters that you can apply to your gadgets in your dashboard. So any gadgets that you're used to in the past, you will see that information as an option to report on test cases that have that custom field value and so forth. So we probably won't have time to go through that. But
yeah, and I'll probably just share a quick use case, Fedi, if I may. I know there are attendees in the call today that, within their daily cadence with their deliverables with customers, they talk about prioritizing certain tickets in Jira to release, must win or must have, and so this here is again supporting that reporting capability of saying, look, let's just, out of all the issues that we have, let's look at all the test cases that we need. In this case in here, if we say, let's bring all that report on our emergency type testing or our normal changes. So this is where the power of, I suppose, automation in a way truly is in providing accurate report. And it's funny, I spoke with some of the Scrum Masters earlier this week around, they don't have the time to be so close to the lowest level of detail, but having a highest level reference point, and this will certainly provide those gadgets, those reporting straight to those, that C level. So Very
Yes,
important.
absolutely. No, it's great insights, and that's always the key thing about our webinars. It's not about just talking about features. We like it to be educational,
Bringing it back, absolutely.
a practice around how our organizations are doing things and some of the key learnings as a result of that and why we do things. But anyway, moving on from that side of things, as we mentioned on the dashboard, you could drill into data. We continue that across the same experience, I should say, across Jira and Confluence. So you know that any sort of data that appears in your Gadget, it's not only just information that you've got 10 block cases or failed cases or untested or whatever it may be, but you can drill into that information, see the data that's creating that stats and actioning it. So it's always about actioning. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing the data, but then sort of now having to drill into 5-6 screens to find the data and try to figure it out. Vansah is about giving you the data at a click of a mouse, as Hala has shown you. We're talking about Confluence here. She's probably
Right.
two different audiences, but it's always important to realize that Vansah is for Jira and it's also for Confluence. Your data from your dashboards and your gadgets are embedded into your pages in Confluence, and that data some teams have created test reports in Confluence and embedded those gadgets in there. Would have been something you're familiar with, but now you're not only doing things. So not only just reporting on data, but you have the data at your
transacting.
Transacting. You're drilling into data from your Confluence page, real-time data, and actioning anything you need to. So if you need it, so let's say we have here a test summary report that's in Confluence, and we needed to manage that report and execute the data, update it, export it. That now appears for us. So it's integration, continuous integration, that we could say that continuously giving data to you as you need it from Confluence and vice versa. Confluence here allowing you to transact on the test cases and all being available to you in Jira. That's the key change here as a result of that. I have some use cases that I have entertained, and sort of I know we're heading there is where you have business teams that don't want to necessarily go into testing tools to be able to find the tests to run, that you planned for them to execute some sort of specific test based on a function, component, whatever release. You can configure your Confluence workspace, your Confluence page, I should say, and give instructions. If we had an example, we don't have one that can sort of demonstrate this. It's just something I thought of right now. But imagine you say that, look, these are the tests that are assigned to Helen, as an example, who she needs to run for her department, and those tests that you would like Helen to execute would appear from Vansah inside Confluence, and all you need to do is just train them as to opening that page, clicking on the test cases that should be run, configuring the test properties that would need to be run by Helen, as an example, and continuing through from there. So there's no need to log into Jira. There's no need to open up an issue. We don't need to open up a test folder cycle, or even do anything that may be considered as too much for some people that they're mainly interested in the business, the operations, the validation there. Well, sharing a Confluence page with clear instructions and access to the tests that they need to run, I believe is the most efficient and productive way to continue your testing process without breaking anything. Because we all know that people can do things in their way, but the disconnect and the translation of what has been executed into the reporting practice that you have already has been a big challenge for many teams. This is a way to avoid incorrect data being managed and reported, and having customers not feeling like they need to learn how to use technical tools or anything. It's keeping it seamless and very intuitive. So that's what Vansah has done. So that's a big change for us.
It's fantastic. I'm going to just, in light of time, Fadi, try and push this through as well.
Please, yeah.
I think we've only got a couple of slides left.
That's right. And I think I just want to quickly mention is our testing grids that we call the grid itself, the data that you've seen on the widgets that you've drilled into Vansah Test Case tab. We've really added a lot more additional columns that are quite important. Some key things just to mention is link test cases to a test case. You'll see any test folders that are linked to a test case are now have been visible for, as a part of the, are now visible as part of the recent release. So we have some things here that you may be familiar with. Anything that any test right now, you can quickly see that this test case is linked to issue 1 and 5. Again, if you need to drill in, you can open up Jira straight away with those issues. If this test case was linked to folders, you'll see that information and you can action it. Right now, this example, there has no test folders linked, but regardless, we've added some additional columns for you to include in your testing grid. I think, Hala, you were going to try and demonstrate how you can link a test case to several folders.
That's correct. Yep.
Or just adding it to one folder or 2 folders here. As you can see now, this particular test case is now associated to those folders, linking it to some test cases. So I think I might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. We have also introduced the ability to link test cases to test cases. So if you want to see the relationship of a test case with other test cases, you can do that here. Test cases not only within the project, but across any project. And that traceability is visible from a test case and also from the Vansah testing grid, which I'll show. The just key thing is that that relationship is bi-directional. So if you open up the test case that you've linked, you can also see what it's linked to as well from opening it up, vice versa. And I think that was the main changes on the testing grid, Hala, but I'm not sure what you're trying to demonstrate here.
Just again, showcasing the bi-direction, also opening up the test case. So just to sort of showcase that as well. But yeah, as you said, you've covered both folders and test cases.
Yes.
But can I say something very important about the linking of test cases bi-directional? This is also important when it comes to planning your dependencies. There are certain ways teams may want to run their test cases following a certain sequence, and this is where all this linkage will be. It helps with impact analysis. It helps with regression. Yes. And especially looking at what other test considerations a particular team may need to consider, and this is where the value again of linking test cases.
What also will come to your screen, Hala, just if you stay there for just a quick second, very quick, is that you not only will see the test case, you'll also be able to see more information and execute that test case. So if you expanded the linked test cases, you could also see what's the latest result of that test case from this screen that's coming soon. And be able to run that test as well from just hovering over it and seeing the menu to export it, clone it, execute it. Everything is going to be, that experience will be maintained there. But that covers the changes on the testing grid. Probably good to sort of now step into what's coming next, and we'll talk. I'll try to be as brief as possible, but big thing for us, and it's been worked on for quite some time, is the data residency support. So at Jira, Atlassian supports has supported data residency for a few years now, I believe, for some time, where customers can choose to have their Jira Cloud workspace in the country they reside in by pinning Jira to their region. So let's say customers in Europe would say that, look, they need to keep their Jira data in Europe. They have that option by configuring their Jira workspace at the time of starting subscribing to Jira, and keeping all their data residing in Europe, and vice versa. Atlassian supports US, UK, Europe, and Australia, Singapore, and Canada as of now recently. And so that those regions have been something that customers can choose to host their data for privacy reasons. Most government organizations, legislation requires that they keep their data in their local region. So that's been great from a Jira side, but most companies are probably not aware that Jira apps themselves that you subscribe to for Jira, the native apps, couldn't support the region that you're in. And the main reason for that is because Atlassian hadn't actually introduced their latest changes yet, which is currently coming out of beta, that allows apps to know what region the customer's workspace, the Jira workspace, is based in. And so if the customer changes, for instance, from the US to, let's say, Australia, to be, to change their Jira workspace to be hosted in Australia, then the app could be notified in real time that, look, this Jira customer is now based in Australia. Please move all Jira app data to be based in Australia as well. And so this support is something we've been working on. And as a result, this month we'll be pushing out, at the end of December, we'll be pushing out our data residency support, which means customers who choose to move their Jira app workspace in Vansah, they want to move Vansah to be hosted in the region, they literally have that, they'll have that option to now move Vansah to be based in Australia or whatever region you're in. It's not a selection that they can do to say, look, I want to move Vansah to Europe and keep Jira in the US. I mean, if they don't want to move Vansah to their Jira pinned location, that's their choice. But it will appear to them that, look, you can choose to have Vansah in Australia because you are pinned. You've pinned your Jira workspace to Australia, and Vansah supports Australia and data residency. So would you like to do that? So as a Jira admin, they would select yes, migrate the data. Now the data will be migrated. All your data from the US will be migrated to Australia and be hosted in the Australian region, the same region as your Jira workspace region. That's the experience for customers that have installed Vansah and have recently moved their Jira location to a new new region, and they want to now move their Vansah data as well. But for customers that have already pinned their location to their local region and they install Vansah for the first time, they would automatically be, their Vansah workspace would be installed in their Jira workspace, in their Jira region automatically. So it's not going to be anything they need to do anything about it. It will just automatically occur. So a couple of things there, as you can imagine, testing to make sure that customers' data will be migrated successfully to the region they choose. That's number one. And number two, being able to support customers to have Vansah in their Jira workspace located in the region they've chosen. So it's all part of our push to be a global competitive player in the Atlassian ecospace, to ensure that data, we treat data very seriously, and we obviously, our customers are very keen to ensure that their data is always maintained in that compliant environment. So we're excited about that. I'll move on from that, and there'll be more information about that. There's some announcements already there, but that's something we're working on. Something big here and something really, really special and exciting to all of us is our Cognate AI support. So we've been working with our team in our R&D team for a few months now, and we've some of you have seen some prototypes of this, how it works, and it's been really impressive. And that is about allowing you to create test cases, the test steps against any Jira story that you have. And it's a very interactive type of AI management solution for you, is that our AI engine will ask questions based on what this Jira story is. So if you needed to know a little bit more, it will present some information back to you or questions back to you to sort of ensure that what it does create is very accurate, in the sense that, it's not just giving you tests that you would then have to go through and spend more time to realize that this is irrelevant. We don't want generic stuff. We need our AI engine to be as accurate as possible. So as a result of that, we're constructing our proprietary solution around how we review your Jira issue and understand what type of test that you should have in the first place, and to sort of maybe ask some questions that it could be a little bit about, what the story is. And from that result, we don't have a lot of information to share right now, but what we sort of plan to do is release our first
Beta.
I'd say beyond beta, but a little bit, yeah, let's call it beta. Don't like to sort of push beta stuff out there, but it's definitely first release of our Cognate AI solution that will be available in your Jira workspace. And there will be a tab in your Vansah dashboard that can allow you to interact to create tests. And those tests are not only just test cases, they're also detailed based on the type of test. If it's a BDD test, if it's a multi-step test or whatever it may be you need, it will generate them for you automatically. And what I've seen recently is just mind-blowing in terms of the accuracy and the power. We've tested it out even with when we're using data residency. We're about to consider what type of tests we should run ourselves as a team to validate the data residency changes we're doing. And the stuff that our Cognate solution has created was, I recall in the meeting that some of our testers were saying, we didn't think of that. That's actually quite important. How do we miss that? And that's because the AI engine really adds a lot of value there. So things to consider. What we're doing is once we release it in January, it's going to be full steam ahead. So we're not talking about small changes after that. It's going to be quite a agile and aggressive type, push to give a very competitive version of AI integration to Vansah. And I think we're keen to see some organizations come on board very quickly. There's no extra charge for it. It's all part of the solution to give teams a lot more insights to creating tests. And where we move beyond that is about insights to risks and the type of test coverage you have, and if you've missed anything that we think you should consider, that would be fed back to the team. I'm going to just literally quickly try to move as fast as I can now, just to talk very quickly about Vansah Connect. It's all about what we're doing from an automation integration, mainly integrating to other tools. So we, Shubham, you've probably heard, present a bit about our automation plugins to Selenium and so forth, where he's been working on a generic NPM library. I believe that it's not my area that I can really talk much about, but it's a solution that could actually allow you to integrate many different tools using one single solution. So that's something that we'll cover off in February a little bit more, and that will just make a lot more sense as to how useful it is for most people. And the big thing for us is our Vansah validators. So Jira is very big on automation. If you're not familiar with it, you can automate a lot of tasks, a lot of checks around issues and changes. We are doing the same thing now for Vansah to integrate with Jira's workflow actions. And things that we could help with is, for instance, if all the test cases against the Jira issue have passed, then you can say that as a result of that, only allow a Jira to transition to the done state once all the test cases have achieved a certain criteria. So that sort of automation validation is what we're doing. Or even if you sort of wanted to create a rule to say that, okay, once all the tests are finished, automatically move the issue to the next state. That is what you can start doing very soon. So big thing around workflow automation for 24, and it's already in the in progress right now. So it's looking good. Vansah automation, I think I've covered that off with the Connect integration, but they're the kind of like first quarter of 24 that you will start to hear more of. But definitely there's a lot more things that we're working on. But I think I just want to wrap it up, and I think I've just hit that 5 o'clock time slot, so we try to keep it to the 5 to that 1 hour time slot that we had, Hala. But thank you everyone for your patience. Most importantly, your feedback. The community has just been really at another level for us. It's been so good to see some of that one-on-one direct support. I even have some customers that have requested to have a one-on-one Teams meeting directly to give us some more insights around what they would like changed, and we encourage that. And it's really how the product is shaping to be what it is today and what it will be in the future. So thank you again.